Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining Set the Pipe. I'm Sully. That is CK, and Bear is in the house. Today, we have the head coach for the men's volleyball from USC, Jeff Nygaard. Welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's good to see some old faces.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jeff. Glad you made it.
Great seeing you.
This is another case too. I mean, the fact that it's Set the Pipe right there tells me that's an older generation.
Yeah, you're
Yes,
right.
it is, my friend.
That was kind of the point.
All four of us hit the pipe.
Yes, we did. We
You're
may
right.
we may have to change the name in about 5 years if we can keep going to success to Set the Bick. I mean, maybe we go there, but I like Set the Pipe right now. I think it's got a nice tune
It's
to
fitting, I think, for sure, who's actually hosting.
I love that name.
it. Yeah.
So let's get Coach Nygaard's background a little bit. So a 3-time Olympian, if you guys didn't know, in indoor and beach volleyball, and a 2-time collegiate MVP while playing on a pair of NCAA championship teams. This is his 10th season as a head coach at the USC men's volleyball. He also served as a head coach for the USA men's team that competed in the Pan Am Cup in Reno.
Oh yeah.
And and then he was on the national team from 1993 to 2000, representing the U.S. in 3 Olympics. Like I said, he was a member of the indoor team at the 96 and 2000 games and teamed up with the U.S. beach volleyball head coach at USC, Dane Blanton, on the beach for the 2004 Olympics. That is extremely impressive.
I remember most of that.
Yeah.
Most of it.
Yeah. Also played overseas in Greece, Croatia, France, and in Turkey after his beach stint there, which we should talk about. National Player of the Year 2 consecutive seasons in 94 and 95, and he was also the National and Conference Freshman of the Year in 92. In the 1993 NCAA title, setting an NCAA tournament record by hitting, get this, an 867 in the semifinals.
Semis, not the finals.
Not
the
the final-
semis.
the
Remember
semis.
that.
It was against Ohio State.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. But there he is, the USC men's head coach, Jeff Nygaard. Again, welcome to Set the Pipe.
Yeah, and for the record, I hit a back one that I knew they were going to soft block. I just knew it, and then that's how I didn't get the perfecto. But no, you're over that.
Yeah, apparently, just like we are with other things as well. Yeah.
Well, the thing that you guys keep talking about, when you hit that the night later or 2 nights later, you beat me, right? So you beat me in that, and you probably hit 700 that match as well. So amazing accolades. You know, it's funny when we've done this now for, I don't know, 15 whatever pods we're doing, and just enjoying this and getting the chance to talk to friends like you, right? We haven't talked in a while. I don't know if we've seen each other since the Rolling Stones concert that night, which, by the way,
I was here to say that.
Yep, I had a great show, by the way. That was an amazing show. Yeah, and you know, and just it's awesome to get to see faces, but then to listen to volleyball heroes of a lot of people. You know, you and I, we competed against each other. We've been friends for a long time, and you know, I asked this to a few other people. How does it feel sometimes to just hear all what you have accomplished?
Complete disassociation. That's a guy that did some stuff a long time ago, and you know, my first reaction is like, Isaiah Thomas, I think he was quoted. This is the Pistons basketball guy. He's like, if all you know me for is a basketball player, then I've had a crappy life.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of all that stuff, and it's great, but that is not even close to who I am now today and what I'm doing, which is coaching USC. I'm a dad to 3. I'm a husband and all that good stuff. So yeah, I love all that history and all that stuff, but that's not what I am right now.
Well, that's great, you know, and that's a cool thing to see as we all grow, right? You know, you were an unbelievable volleyball player. Now you're an unbelievable volleyball coach, and more importantly, a father and a husband, right? And so those are great things that we love to, you know, hear about stories. So, you know, tell us about what you're doing right now. Obviously, you're coaching at USC. Tell us a little bit about your kids and your wife, and then we'll really dive into a little bit of college volleyball after, you know, we hear this a little bit.
Well, first and foremost, I'm doing PT on all that stuff you talked about for my neck because it's like kind of jacked up. Just trying to get that back into moving because, you know, sitting at screen, sitting at a computer, sitting at a desk, took a little bit of a toll. But I mean, I look at it this way: is like, I would never change a single thing I did back in the day just because it may not feel great now, because it's like, you want to have that moment. You want to have those experiences. And I'm not complaining about it because PT's been great and I'm moving through all that stuff and getting some range back, which has been phenomenal. So I actually like going to PT and getting my butt kicked again. Someone just telling me, this is your workout, you're doing it. And when I make the mistake of saying, oh, is that all you got? They go to another level. And there's a sick side of me that just goes, I'm loving this, even though I'm getting completely gassed on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, saying I can't get enough of that type of stuff. But, turning the corner, my wife and I celebrated 20 years this year, which is great. Still going strong. Had a great anniversary trip that I got to plan the whole thing, and she's still married to me. So apparently, it's working.
Took you 20 years, but that's great that you got it, though.
I haven't peaked
just
yet.
playing.
I haven't peaked yet.
You're just on your way up. You're just on your way up.
It's a snowball at this point.
That's
And the
awesome.
kiddos.
3 kids. Got an 18-year-old daughter, Sophia, that we're trying to navigate getting to college and maybe playing soccer. And then I got a 15-year-old daughter who she focuses in all her energy on swimming and water polo. And then I got a 10-year-old son that, who knows, he's just climb anything and it's just a ball of energy. And then we put him down at night and he recharges and does it again.
That's what 10-year-olds should be doing. That's awesome.
Exactly right. That's
That's
exactly
great.
right.
That's great.
Yeah, swimming and water polo, that's great. That's my family grew up that way, and then we kind of ventured off in the volleyball world. But great sports. I mean, you got tons of opportunities down there in Southern California for sure. So those communities are great. Good for her.
Speaking of Southern California, right before we came on here, I have a question for you. It's a twofold, but it's obviously one being from Southern California. I would love to hear after the journey from being from Wisconsin to just learn volleyball. And this will also make you realize why you're living in Southern California. My neighbor just caught some fresh fish, just gave me a huge thing of tuna right over the fence. And Michelle and I just had some sashimi right before I came up here.
That doesn't happen for me.
Want to shout out to Dale. Thanks for that. That's why I'm here in Southern California. And go back to, coming from Wisconsin. What made you fall in love with volleyball?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of meat on the bone there. Fell in love with volleyball. First of all, we had to pull a sport in the fall to prepare for basketball in the summer or in the winter. And my options were pretty limited. My brother played volleyball, and I asked him, wait, what do you think? What's the right sport? And volleyball was the number one thing. He said, you should play volleyball. So that's how I started. And then, I was slowly getting tired of basketball because I was super skinny. And these was just some big corn-fed guys knocking me around. I didn't like the 6 a.m. practice, all that stuff. So my junior year, I practiced for 3 days. I hated it. And right around that same time, I think I was 6'2", and for some reason I was on the varsity team as a setter. I came and I hit one ball in. I hit one ball in the entire year. And I remember it was like towards the end of the season. So I came back and I had grown 6 inches, 5 inches over the summer. I came back as 6'7.5". And the next thing I know, I could hit every ball on the 10-foot line in every direction. I just go, hey, this is fun. And that's what hooked me. And that right there. And then I quit basketball because I hated it. I played volleyball most of the time, and I loved it. And I just kept seeing growing, getting better and stronger. And it just seemed like I could do what I wanted with the ball wherever I was put. So, I don't know if the sport chose me or if I chose it.
Yeah. So how did Al find you?
Well, thank God Al was of the mindset of he'll take anybody just so no one else gets them.
Of course, that
was the mindset.
Gotta love skater.
Yeah.
No, I sent out 50+ letters to every college that there was. I had enough of the right people that knew at least to reach out to all of them. So that's how the recruiting trail started. And I got all kinds of interest from all these people, but I'm still a 6'8" nothing from Wisconsin. Nobody had seen me play. But that's how the recruiting trail started. And then I had this videotape that we made of my skills and me reaching on the net and just doing some stuff. And here's some game footage. And we sent those to the top probably 10 schools that I was interested in. And then from there, that went to Ball State and UCLA. Took trips to Ball State, and then I took a trip to UCLA. And here's what's interesting is, do you know Todd Reimer? Does that name ring a bell?
That is not to me.
Yeah, Todd Reimer, phenomenal guy. He was my host at Ball State. I loved my trip to Ball State, but I watched the game and they were playing BYU, and that was one of the first years that BYU had a team, and I'm watching them play, and I just watched them do stuff, and they're bigger, stronger, they had mustaches, all that good stuff, but I really was looking at the level, just kind of going, it didn't seem like it was a really high level.
Yeah.
I was with my mom, we drove there and had a blast on the trip. Then I went with my dad to LA, and that was my first airplane flight.
Wow.
All of a sudden, here's 5 lanes of traffic. Here's some people I don't know. in a busy city. I'm exhausted. I didn't enjoy the trip, but I do remember watching UCLA play, and I don't remember who it was that they were competing against, but it was really good.
Yeah.
And at some point, I looked at my dad and I go, I think I can do that. And my dad looked at me and goes, ah, crap. Like,
Going
hey,
to
you come in
California.
here.
Yeah.
No.
Was that 90 or 91? Did you graduate in 90 or 91?
1990.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what Michelle said. You were a year older because she met you on her recruiting visit. When she first time she ever met you. And that was a long time ago. But that's, it's such a great story about how you did it because, we're trying to evangelize, volleyball, tell fun stories, but also just try to get more people involved in it and loving the game like we did. Like, look what it's done for you. A kid in Wisconsin playing basketball, falls in love with volleyball, plays it your way. You're the head coach at USC. You played in 3 Olympics. I mean, that's a pretty cool story, for someone coming out of a place like Wisconsin and not on the beach where everyone thought volleyball was the only place to be played. So, pretty rad.
Well, I think timing and luck comes into play a lot of these stories as well, because my brother actually was a good volleyball player too. He took a trip to Ohio State. I don't know exactly what happened, but we don't come from a big means type of family, a lot of resources. And in the span that he took that trip to where I took my trip, I had 3 grandparents that passed away, unfortunately, and
Oh,
they were
wow.
able to leave us enough money to where that first year of out-of-state tuition, we could afford for that year.
Okay.
And it was on me to earn a scholarship beyond that and get in-state tuition for me to continue. And I remember the moment after my first year, I was up there near Al's office. Sully came running out, and he's talking about all kinds of stuff. And he looked at me, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Good. I just talked about scholarships," and I got white in the face. And he's like, "Wait,
Yeah.
what's on?" I'm like, "I don't know if I could stay here if I don't earn a scholarship." And Sully ran in there and told Skates, and then I had an offer on the table from that. But that first
That's
year
great.
was, if you give it a year before that, we would not have had the resources to be able to do that in the first place. So
Yeah.
timing and luck led everything to that.
Yeah, and just remember, so women's get full rides. They get 12, and it's, per person, where we had 4.5, and it's been that way for decades until really next year. So they had to spread out the wealth. It wasn't like everybody got a full ride that was on your team.
I never had a full ride.
Yep.
Any of my years, I never had a full ride. And
Yep.
I feel like I was a pretty successful player, but that's not how
Absolutely.
that works out. It's like you got to build a team with 4.5. And so fortunately, I was in a position to where what they were able to offer me, and I just worked for more and more, and fine doing that stuff. But yeah, that's
So-
the nature of the beast.
Perfect
Yep.
pivot. We had 4.5. You were one of the best players in the country from start to finish. That freshman year, you were a little skinny, as everyone knows, but you got better and you became, for 4 straight years, you were unbelievable.
I love that. A little skinny.
Yeah,
That's-
He
you
was
were
pretty thin.
A lot
just a
of
little
skinny.
bit. I mean, we know the stories. I mean, at least I've heard from Seals and others, but like for 4 years, you were phenomenal. But now, what does it look like for you being at USC, being in the Big Ten, with the new rules, with either 18 or is it 18 full scholarships? Are you guys going to be able to fund more than 4.5? Curious on what you guys are going to be doing.
Well, the 18, okay, there's your roster cap, and yeah, you're able to fund, but that doesn't guarantee that you can
Right.
get that funding for all of those
No.
18. I think the schools that, I don't want to name names or anything, but let's say your tuition's $10,000 to fund a scholarship that offsets that cost. Let's just assume it's a 5% yield on whatever. How much that going to cost is like maybe $100,000 or $200,000. For us, that's $100,000 to get that same yield. That's $2 million to fund one scholarship. I mean,
Right.
that's real the wall. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
ups
yeah.
and downs in that. And so, okay, sure, you could look at that and say USC has resources for sure, but I mean, there's all kinds of variance in that, and that's just one snapshot of that. So, okay, great, we have the ability to fund up to that, but then you also have to look at, well, is that funding going to go to your sport first and foremost? Because there are all kinds of sports that are going to be at LSD, and my assumption is that football is probably going to get the funding all the way up before it kind of trickles down to what
Yeah.
we're trying to do. So,
Yep.
we're all trying to fight for what we can get and try to build the best teams possible. So I'll take anything we can get to help offset the costs because, $100,000 just to trying to get some scholarships or trying to get some players is like, you want to win. So we
Sure.
got to do what we got to do to get to that.
And does that also include NIL as well? Is something that you have to raise on your own? Is
Look
the
at that
school
smile,
helping with
man.
that?
You
I mean, I'm
opened
just
up a
curious.
can of worms.
We've asked, we've asked Alan, we've asked Theo. Just curious your take on it. You, Theo and Alan are at Cal State Northridge and Long Beach State. You're at USC. You guys are in the Big Ten. You have 85,000 people that show up to the Coliseum when you're playing Michigan. You know, those kind of things. You're in a big conference that has, I can't remember, 6, 7 teams in the March Madness that gets money. Those teams don't. Will that help you in recruiting?
Wow, that's a lot of stuff to talk about. First and foremost, being in the Big Ten and getting exposure on the national scale is going to help our brand, and especially in our space for sure. So
That's
you
great.
know, it's kind of like what you were talking about earlier. It's like, here's a kid from Wisconsin, where it's like the only time I'd heard of UCLA or USC was in Volleyball Mag back in the day. But now it's like our brand gets to be on a national, in a really top-notch production with the Big Ten Plus network, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. So that right there is going to help us in the long run. You know, maybe we could spawn a Big Ten men's volleyball conference. But
We would
you know,
love that.
Love
Love
the
that.
Hawks brought that up. Alan brought that up. They just say it's right, but you're just going to need those Michigans, the
right.
Indianas to say, yeah, let's do this.
Right. But let's tackle the NIL space. I think right now we're waiting till April drops for that house settlement to finally hit. And we're just gonna, okay, everything that we thought is going to happen is now this, so that we actually have concrete guidance of what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah.
But until we have that, for me, NIL is going to be just like me in my own backyard with the men's volleyball alum and men's volleyball parents and all that stuff. And any agendas along those lines can be put into our bucket. I've always preferred the 501c3 arm of that, because, you know, if we have somebody has a donor fund, they're able to take that and they put it in the 501c3, then they get the benefit of that as well. And it's not just, hey, give me $100 grand and I'll go buy
Right.
this pair. It's like,
Yeah.
that's what more of the collective side of things are. So the NIL is, our treatment has been more of like, it's in that NIL space of what it actually is. And once we have that house settlement, that NIL is going to be way truer to an NIL. Because if you think of it this way, I think Deion Sanders said it perfectly. How many of those NIL kids actually have sponsorships that you see? Like you can see Caleb, our quarterback from a year or two ago. You got Juju, the basketball player, who's got some spots and all that stuff. But there's not that many that actually have it. And that's actually a genuine NIL. The rest of them are more of along the lines of collectives. And I think that's probably what's
Just paying you. Yeah.
Yep. Money.
well, nobody wants to say pay to play, but I mean, it actually comes out to be something like that. So the last I've heard is that NIL space is going to have a third-party entity that's actually going to have a market value assessment to that. So if you really want to do an NIL, you actually have to have some marketability based on all the different factors. Like what are your followers? What's your, you know, all these different factors that go into it.
Of course.
And then, all right, now I go do some commitment. I go coach volleyball at a boys and girls club, and the market value is you get a check for X amount of dollars because that's a fair and equitable thing. So, okay, I can wrap my head around all that. But I think what we're really trying to talk about, what benefits the men's volleyball team more, and it's like, well, I'll take all of it if I can. I love to
Of course.
I'd love to have flexibility in an NIL space, because at $100,000, I'd like to offset the cost, because if you really think about it, it's like getting access to top players doesn't necessarily mean they have resources, and you want to build that top team. If you have a kid that $100,000 is just not doable for their family, that's somebody that we need to help to get on the team and make sure that they're doing what we need to be successful.
Awesome.
Sure.
Barry, you had a pretty interesting question before Jeff came on.
I got a question for you. So the high school I went to, Fountain Valley High School, we had a huge rivalry with Edison High School in Orange County, right? And now I am teaching at Edison High School. And the first couple times I had to put on some Edison gear was difficult. And what I'm leading to is you being a UCLA Bruin, and now you're coaching at the Trojans, or at USC for the Trojans. Tell us what that's like, making that transition and putting on gear for the first time, USC gear.
And saying, go Trojans.
All right, well, let's get into that.
Yeah, Tommy.
That's right.
This is just natural. I would do that before. Well, let's do the entire evolution, because I was jumping to and from the national team at my time at UCLA.
Okay.
So I'd go from, you know, the USA team and playing in Greece, and then come back and put on the UCLA. I can't even say it well anymore.
Yeah, it's been so long.
Wow.
In
Freudian
10
slip.
years.
Then I go back to the national team and play in the World Championships, go back to UCLA. But so that as soon as I graduated, I got in a truck and drove down to San Diego. I was with the national team. Then I'd go play overseas in Greece, come back to the national team, go play in Croatia, back to the national team, go in France, national team. Then I would go play four-man, all that good stuff. And so it was just, I was constantly changing uniforms, wearing different colors. I had one team that was green. I mean, I played in too many different colors to actually
Okay.
worry about what color I'm playing, because it's about the guy in the color or in the jersey that makes the
Yeah.
difference, in my
Sure.
opinion. Yeah, and then I switched and played some beach after the 2000 Olympics, and the Irish, here's this sponsor, here's this new shorts, here's all this stuff. And then right when the AVP was going bankrupt and they were making it very obvious is when I started looking and just go, I want to get into coaching to see if this is the next evolution for me. It's like I felt like I had been around it enough to where I'm just sitting on a winning lottery ticket. I might as well go into that and see if that's what I want to be. And along those times, some conversations happened. I talked to Alan probably 2 years before I got to USC, just to fish for it and see what's this feel like, what's that like. But then that summer hit that they're going, yeah, we're going to be bankrupt in the middle. And I'm going, I got a wife and kid and a mortgage. I'm not about to abuse my body anymore, which was shutting down on me for a tenth of the prize money. I needed a job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's when Fergie gave me a call, and because he knew I was asking around, and he goes, I have an idea for you. And on that same phone call, I told him, if somebody offered me a job today, I'd quit playing immediately.
Wow.
Mm.
And he goes, is that right? And I go, yep. And he goes, why don't you come up tomorrow? That's how I ended up parlaying this into a job. And I quit the day I signed on the dotted line. So for me, it was, I have a wife and a kid and a mortgage, and I want to get into coaching. And you can't ask for a better starting job as a USC.
Sure.
Yeah, I still called Al Skates. I still called Spoo, and I say, hey, here's an opportunity. What do you guys think? And even Al Skates goes, I don't have anything here. That's a great opportunity. I wish you nothing but the best.
It's got to be crazy though, going back to Pauley Pavilion, sitting on the other side of the court, right, on the other side of the bench, and playing against your alumni.
The answer to that is, I will admit that that felt a little different the
Yeah.
first couple times I was in there. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I was conditioned to win in that building. And so
Yes, you
what's that
were.
got to do with the shirt I wear?
Flip the switch. Yep.
Yeah, that's a
I'm-
great point.
I'm there to compete to win. And yeah, I represent USC, and I'm blessed to still be there.
That's awesome. The nature of men's volleyball from when we played to it is today. We've talked about this, the evolution of it and the growth, and seeing guys like Nikolov in the league, and just the level. I mean, I got to see you guys play at UCI. We talked about that the other day, and such a gnarly match in 5 and going really into double digits in that 5th set, and just fun to watch. How is it as a fan and a coach of volleyball to see how fast the game and big and the growth of it in general? How do you see it? Do you love it? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think the best thing that happened for me was somewhere on year 5, 6, 7. I recognized that, for me being a volleyball player, and this is probably something you guys can relate to, is like when you stop playing, you no longer have your own personal physical expression of everything that you were as a volleyball player. And everything was in that space of being a volleyball person, not being able to compete and hit the ball and take frustrations out on your opponent and get super competitive and just, get hyper focused, all that stuff. You don't get to do that anymore in a physical way because that's gone. And now, along those lines, I had to really soul search and grow and do all kinds of stuff because I recognize that in that 5, 6, somewhere in there, that same competitiveness was coming out verbally, was coming out emotively, was coming out with leadership, was coming out in all these different ways. And it was such a breath of fresh air to have that connection that it's the same competitiveness that I used to express physically. And so now when I see someone on my team that we're coaching up and training, and you see the light go on, all of a sudden they go out and they take that big swing and they get that kill, that comes out of me immediately. Like I couldn't be more happy to see someone else do that in a way that for me would have been just a natural part of the game. So
Yeah.
Did you
it's
find-
the exact same person, but just a different style. I can intellectually do it, emotionally do it, all that good stuff. So that's been really rewarding in my evolution as a coach.
Did you get to that point with on your own, a mentor, books? Like, how did you how'd you get there? Or was it just an epiphany going, oh, I can actually take what I know as who I am and translate it into this coaching thing, and it just kind of was an evolution for you?
I would just package it all together. I'm blessed to work with some pretty damn good coaches.
Yep.
I'm blessed I'd be surrounded with some talented players. I'm blessed to be at an institution that demands the highest. And it just tapped in one day when I saw my team doing stuff that was just, they were flowing, they were playing good volleyball. And that's when it just hit me. I just started really embracing the moment. And like, I'm not an emotional guy. In fact, I'm probably more emotional outwardly as a coach than I ever was as a player.
Mm.
So it's been just really rewarding and like a release to see one of my guys go up and hit a ball over a triple block. I'm like, hell yeah, I never could do that. You know,
Right.
just guys doing stuff that I look at and say, I'm so glad I don't play today because there's nothing I could do against a go ball. You know, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I remember, well, we could talk about the BIC route, but now guys are hitting it 500% from the back line, hitting the tempo. And I can remember being in the Olympics blocking a BIC, but it's not because I knew what I was doing. It was because I was so late on the front where I just hung there that the guy hit it right into me. That's a fact. And I just walked away like, I read that. But no, sir. No, sir.
That's
the game's
crazy.
so fast. I've gotten to a few college matches like yours, and I hadn't been in a while. And I mean, it amazes me how fast it is. And everything's pushed so quick to the pins. You know, the middles are still up the same, but like the game running out of the back row, I mean, it's a fun, quick game to watch. It's exciting.
It's almost like the front ones are actually slower now than they used to be, but now all the pins hit the gap.
That's a great.
Right.
I'm glad you actually said that. Now that I think about it, I said it to Mooney, and it seems like the middles are more my size, like 6'4", 6'5". They're not, all of them aren't 6'9" or 6'10". At least some of the matches I watched, they didn't seem that big. But
Yeah, but by the same token, it's like defenses are completely different. It's like where we used to contend against probably maybe a guy in area 4 chapping us or being in there on a good pass. The speed of the pin is so fast that on a perfect pass, those guys have to get out. So you hit one-on-one. So if you're a middle, you're able to hit tees and corners, you're going to torch it. And as you add pops and floats and all kinds of other movement, there's not a real strong chance that a guy can stop a high-level guy who's flashing and fast. I mean, take a Danny Farmer. He would thrive in this type of being so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's fast to the pin, and we want to even go faster. So literally our pins are hitting what we would, I'm talking about CK and I would hit as gaps.
yeah,
Wow. So, Jeff,
That's
do you think you
amazing.
can play this? You think you can play today? I mean, because as an observer, you were so long,
of course you
right?
could.
You were so long, but
Yeah.
just the training would be different, right? Because it is faster. And I don't know, man. I think you had the physique, you had the talent. I think you can play in today's game. That's just my personal opinion.
You're asking that quintessential question. Could Bill Russell, could Will Chamberlain, could
Yeah.
Oscar Robinson, Jerry West, if they grew up in today's
Yes,
speed,
they
all
could.
that physicality, all that stuff, would they be able to compete and still excel?
Kind of say yes.
And you got to believe that level of physicality and, Bill Russell's just intense rage and his competitiveness. If you put another 100 pounds on that guy, he would be a force.
Yeah.
Sure.
By
They
the
all
way,
would.
to me, he's the GOAT, by the way. And I'll just put it out publicly.
All right.
So
It's
like,
hard not to say that about Kareem too. I think about that all the time when you look at his statistics. It's like it's unbelievable.
That's
Both
right.
of them. Both of them were amazing.
well, I would love to believe I could come and play at this day and age, but the fact of the matter is I was a 6 rotation middle. And so how would I do with 3 rotations? It's hard for me to even translate that.
Right.
'Cause
Yeah.
I was the third passer on the jumpsters.
Wow.
I like playing defense. I'd hit all the pipe. I would hit the pipe.
You would hit the pipe.
Yes, you would hit
They
the
would
pipe.
set you the pipe.
And subscribe.
Set on the pipe.
Yeah. So yeah, all that stuff is like, would it translate? It's like, well, I'd love to believe so, but the good news is I don't have to prove it.
Right.
Nope. No, I was just curious. Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I had a pretty good view from where I was, and to be able to see back in the day. But
So did I. I was like, oh, right by me again. Oh, wow.
hey, you had a huge win the other night, Hawaii, and we brought up Dylan Klein a couple because of Coley's relationship with his dad, and obviously he absolutely went off over 500 percentage. Congratulations on that win. So yeah, I've seen his highlights. I haven't obviously because I don't live in California anymore, but he's fun to watch. He's
jumps
really fun to
okay.
watch.
It jumps just okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
all right.
jumps all right.
Well, I mean, what you see is only the tip of the iceberg. Because I mean, obviously he's gifted with phenomenal genetics and jumping and a cannon for an arm. He's got amazing touch. He's super fast. You couldn't ask for more brilliant volleyball mind too. But what you're not seeing is all of the hard work and leadership he's been doing behind the scenes, and his maturity and his growth and his learning and all that stuff. It's showcased when we play, and he plays at a high level and he steps forward and against UH, and that crowd has that kind of a night.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing that I get blessed to see is what he does all day, every day. And the reason that our team's doing so well is, okay, we're physical, we're doing all kinds of nice things. There's no question about their growth, and it's really cool to see 3 freshmen on the floor, but they're just balling out and having a blast doing it. But I think that the thing that separates this team is just we have elite leaders on our team, elite captains, and the commitment that they had before we even got to fall practice was they took the reins of the ship, and they're still doing it, and it's at a high level, and we're just blessed to have it.
That's how you win. That's how you win. Sorry, go ahead, Bear.
Yeah. So with the win against Hawaii, the talk of the town right now is you could be a team that could take down Long Beach. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what's your thoughts on that?
They're going to be in the finals. I mean, based on what I'm saying, is like that's a team that if you want to win the national title, they're going to be in the way. There's no question about that. And they're playing really good ball, and they've obviously got a guy who, I guess at the risk of being funny, he's probably going to be on the all-freshman team for the Big West.
Maybe.
More than likely, he's going to see some boats.
Maybe.
So, I mean, as a competitor, you want to play the best.
Yeah.
As a team that has goals of winning the national title, they're going to be there. You want to match up against them, and you want to prime your guys to think that, okay, we can go in there and compete. And so we're just doing good things. Like the Irvine match, we let that one go, but, they beat us fair and square.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we went to BYU, and that was a tough environment. Our guys found a way to compete and win and have fun doing it. So the progression is we're going in the right way. And then to go to UH and really play great volleyball wall to wall, man, that's really good process and really good progression. But yeah, one of our seniors, one of our fifth-year guys, after we won in the huddle, the first thing he said was, "God, we could play better."
Wow.
And it's like, that's music to a coach's ear. You're sitting
Keep
there,
improving.
just played a great neck, and the first thing that I hear is, "We got to play better." Like, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
it's okay to feel good about this.
Yes, and celebrate it, right? Especially winning on the road at UH is no easy place to win ever. All of us know that, playing in the days we did. And you mentioned something, I think it's great to talk about. You were one yourself, and you did it quietly. But sometimes you hear about coaches from all sports, all levels talk about leadership. When the team in the locker room buys in, when the leader on the team, not the coach, but some leader, whatever it is, steps up. Those are the stories you always hear about why those teams were so special. And I'm sure every year when you played, every year when you coach, you don't always have that ideal leadership in your locker room. You hope you do. You got someone that's trying. So, you just talked about that. How do you continue to grow that in your culture at USC to find those kind of leaders like Dylan Klein and to lead your team? Like you said, they were locked in before fall practice. Like those are teams that want to win championships, that are all bought in by some leader, right? You had it in your years at UCLA. I got to play with Matty O and Geeter. Like you just follow those guys anywhere. Like when you have leadership, you do it. So I'd love to hear how, obviously them, but how you continue that culture at USC to build leaders like that.
Oh, man. I think that's more important than the drills you run. I think that identifying leaders, identifying leadership voices, getting them opportunities to be leaders, it's got nothing to do with how old you are. It's got nothing to do with what position on the team you are. It's like if you have a leadership voice that people respect, you got to identify it and grow it and get it out there. Like, I got a guy on my team named Sterling Foley that I saw as a 14-year-old. He got into somebody, got in their ear because they weren't doing their job. And he was not afraid to say something. And to me, leadership has so many different forms. You could be a leader by example, but leading by example is only one piece of this. And to me, and I don't want to disparage it at all, but it's almost like that's now I take that for granted. It's like, You shouldn't be on a top team if you don't lead by example in some format.
Yeah.
So now leading is like, are you consistently living what you are selling? Are you the one that's willing to step out in front of everybody and say, this isn't good enough, we've got to pick it up, and then they are the first one through the wall? So it's more than just having that voice and doing it when it's easy and when it's convenient. You got to be there and be consistent when it's hard. And we got that huge this year. And so identifying the younger guys that are starting to buy in, that they're listening, that they're eating it up, and then enabling them and going, hey man, you're too quiet. We got to have that. We got to have that from everybody. And say, yes, we're having success this year, and so it's easy and it's all that good stuff. But we've got a lot of guys that, USC prides itself on being leaders, but these guys are really doing a good job with that. I could go to Sterling, I could go to Johnny. These are two freshmen, and I say, hey, you need to get your team focused and pick it up. And like in the middle of the game, they will run around to each guy and tell them, hey, do this, do this. And that's on top of DK already doing that. That's on top of our other captain guy, Jenna's doing it. And it's like, if you can get everyone in some capacity to lead, you're in a good place.
Yeah, and that's outside. That's not even on the court. You're talking in the weight room, on your sprints, being on time, right? All the intangibles that people don't see on national TV. It's a big deal. So you can have some guy that's down on the bench that is going to kick your ass in the weight room. Like, no, what are you doing? Like, let's go. We're USC. Let's do this, right?
If we got a transition from weights to upstairs, and we're saying, hey, it'd be upstairs at 12:25. At 12:24, I got somebody running down to find that last guy just to make sure that everyone's up there. And so that stuff goes a long way when everyone's holding each other accountable. And it's whether it's a captain or not, like a freshman's like, hey, get over here. Like, we're doing this now. It's like, when you see that and it's elite leadership and it pervades everything you're doing, as a coach, I can spend my time thinking, how do we want to attack that team?
Right.
Yeah, instead of doing the other stuff, right?
Strategy.
Instead of focusing on that.
Instead of babysitting or any of that other stuff. It's like, no. I'm going to talk about strategy. I'm going to talk about game plan. I'm going to talk about how do we beat this team. I'm going to think about like, all right, in 4 weeks, we got to play against this team. They do this really well. That's not in our gym. So we need to start doing that now. So when we get there, we've seen it. We can own that.
Yeah, that's again, I think it's important in playing for guys. These guys played at Long Beach. They were, you probably had everyone on that team was a leader.
Well, Sully was that guy though in the weight room. I'm telling you, even though he wasn't a starter, he was a leader and he wasn't a starter, and we all followed what Sully said.
Well, it's important, and like you said, Jeff, it depends on your role. Not every person is the one that's getting 40 kills a night, and that's the person that's the leader. And I use this all the time. We all know him well, and he's going to be on here soon. But like, Chris McGee, Geeter at Northridge, like he was probably like our leader. I mean, Matteo and I did, but he was our leader. Everyone looked to him, everyone listened to him, and he didn't start till his senior year, and he played half the time. And he was a leader all the way back when we were freshmen. And so, and we allowed him that, and the coach, like you said, nourished that, and it's important to have that, and that's great to see. And I obviously know Dylan and have a stake in the Kleins. I want him, known him since he was born, and I want him to just win and be successful. Right. But to watch him in that role at that match was incredible, and like you guys were comfortable, you were calm. You never panicked. You battled, and like you said, they beat you. They just hit one more ball than you did. It could have went either way, and but to see that, and then to see what you've done since has been really rad. You've won big matches on the road. You guys are putting yourself in a really good position right as the season is in middle form here. Long Beach is the team to beat for sure, but I like to hear that stuff because I think a lot of it's lost in today's game. It's all about money. It's all about this. It's all about that. And to see people lead and to see people wanting to do that and buy into a team is rad to see. And it's great that you got that right now at USC men's volleyball this year.
We're going to enjoy it. We're going to just keep milking it. We're going to learn from it. We're going to just enable guys to keep running with it. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be us. It should be from them doing it because, I played for Al Skates. He'd walk into the room and all of a sudden he was like, oh, we're going to be serious now. But Eric Sullivan was the captain. Mike Seeley was the leader. Stein Metzger was the leader. I mean, my nickname was the captain. That's for another thing. And I never wanted to be the captain, but I had no problem doing all the reps. I had no problem. Give me any ball that needs to be, that stuff. Yeah, fine. I'm good with that. I love to be like a leader by example because I knew I could, but I didn't really want to lead anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
and that's
well,
okay. Yeah. And that there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like you had some of the best there was at it, right? I mean, like you said, you had Eric Sullivan. I mean, I mean, I was scared of him at times, right? Like, I mean, you did what he did. I mean, obviously, if you're going to talk about him, still no. By the way, this is important to let everyone know that Jeff Nygaard and myself are undefeated in wiffle ball. So, we played in 1993 at the World University Games. We're in Buffalo, and we didn't just play Americans. We played a bunch of different countries. They wanted a piece of us. Sully too, and
they got a piece.
They got a piece, and we went undefeated. We were just really good, and we just didn't like to lose, so it was fun. But when you go back to the leadership, when you have that, it makes things easier. And it doesn't mean you win, but you're sure you're not going to win without it, right? Like that's for sure. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And you need it to be the right kind of leadership too, like on the right path of doing the right things for the right reasons. So, yeah, no, we got elite captains this year, and a lot of what we're doing out there is just from that work. A lot of guys will learn in the right way. So it's been fun just watching our guys compete, knowing that, hey, here's the structure, here's the expectation, here's the voices. And it comes from a lot of different sources too, which is even more rewarding.
Awesome.
Hey, we're talking about Undefeated, right? And just to pivot a little bit, adult nationals. How many adult nationals did you play in, Jeff?
Yes.
5. Okay.
How many did you win?
How many did you win? That's what I thought.
Yep, we were right.
That's exactly what I don't think he's
5
ever
for
lost
5.
nationals. Any team you played on 2 or 3 different teams, didn't you?
What was it?
LA Athletic Club.
Paul Mitchell. Does anyone here know anything about that?
Yeah, of course.
So
Well, A6 Paul Mitchell I've heard of.
Yeah,
but
5
we
for 5, undefeated.
we went A6 Paul Mitchell, then we went to Paul Mitchell, and then we got nice. He came over to the good teams. There were some great matches. That match in San Jose where we lost
to you.
The double final. It was. I still can't
And
believe
Esau had a
Sealy.
swing, actually.
Why Sealy set? You got to set Romaine. I love that he said Esau, and you stuffed him. I think, or it was Winslow stuffed him. But either way, it was.
Of course I did.
It was Winslow.
Romaine, man, that was Titans going head to head.
Yeah, that was a great match. So it was a great little arena too. But 5 for 5. I mean, that tells you a little bit about who you are. Obviously, you're a winner. And whether it's wiffle ball in Buffalo with me, because we don't lose, or whether it's you're playing at nationals for Paul Mitchell or Billy the Ferg at LAAC, you just don't lose. And that's awesome.
I still remember that pipe I set Tom to finish the game. That was the longest and slowest ball going out I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
It was slow motion the whole way. I still can't believe that actually went out by 3 feet.
Yeah.
And I think I celebrated that win more than I've celebrated on most other wins that I've ever been a part of, because for some reason that one just felt right.
Yeah. That was a great week and weekend. And I don't know, man, we smashed you early on, and you guys just, I mean, what a hell of a match. And you beat us. And again, on that play too is crazy.
Wow. 2 stacked teams. It was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. There was a lot of matches over the years, from even before we were playing, when nationals was what it really was, before they even have NCAA, like some great teams, to all the way even today. Just, we read recently they're going to bring it back, the Open, for men and women. So that'll be cool at nationals. It'll be fun. Maybe some college kids will start playing it. A little bit of a money purse, but I mean, now that NIL's there, I can't see why anyone can't get it. But I guess you can't win money. But whatever they're doing, I think it's cool that it's going back.
Yeah. I'll be good to after again, but I am not playing anymore.
Yeah, no. I can't even.
The 40s? The 50s? You don't want to play?
I would tear out Achilles while I signed up.
That's my biggest fear. I got to be honest. Getting back out there blowing Achilles, no thanks. No.
I have a great excuse. I can't play because of my ankle, so I can't even jump. So the only thing I would do is stand in the back row and maybe serve. So for me, I can't play. I'd love to go and coach though.
Fast
Set
arm
me the
swing.
pipe. Bring it down. Bring the net down to the women's sides. Like that's what they should do when you get older. Like bring it back down. Like it starts young when you're a kid. Then they put it up to the 8 foot. They should bring it like maybe at 55. Well, not 55. Maybe a little bit older, but bring it down like to the women's sit back. Because I could swing at that just by standing up, no problem.
Then I'd play, because I'm still be 6'8" for a little longer.
Yeah,
Right.
just for a little
You
bit
shouldn't.
longer.
Yeah,
And
then he just kind of lowers as I shrank. That'd be great.
So I got another quick question for you here, and this goes back to your family. How is it being a head coach at such a prestigious university and do an amazing job and balancing being a father with kids in sports?
I love that word balancing. That's kind of an illusion, but it's more of a priority scenario where, they're used to it. They don't know me as anything other than that. So for them, there's, that's just the way that this one is. But man, I could go on and on about that. It's unique having a daughter getting recruited for sports, being on this side of things. So I kind of know the ins and outs of that. So that's a benefit. I try my best to be present, which I've had to get better at when I come home. So I'm not carrying the day into things at home.
Yeah, important.
I mean, there's all kinds of little things like that trip that I get to take with one of my kids to whatever sporting event for me that's my time.
Yeah.
It's like, you're playing at Vegas, I'm driving. I got it. So I will drop everything to make those moments as often as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But do I think of it as a balancing act? It's like, well, it's kind of a juggle back and forth. I mean, do I miss a lot? I do.
Yeah.
Do I regret it? Of course. So that's part of the deal. No, I mean, during COVID, I was able to structure the thing so that I was actually my son's kindergarten teacher.
Awesome.
Really?
So I had some blessed time with him. I mean, hopefully he didn't get too far stunted back, but
Yeah.
that's the way that one worked. Now, with my my pedigree, so to speak, is my daughter blew her ACL out, so she had an ACL repair.
Soccer?
Soccer, yep.
Yeah, it happens a lot in that
It
sport.
happens a lot.
It does. But I have so much therapy equipment that she literally can do therapy at home, and I could help her
Jeff's
with
going through his
90%
PT.
of it.
Us too. Our kids are very blessed in that regards.
There you go. My water polo daughter has a bum shoulder, so I'm like, pull it. So let's go through all these different stretches, and then here's some therapy things, and I have all the equipment. And she's like, "I'm sorry I said that." Well, we can fix that. I already know 90% of this stuff.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's some reflective glow in this decision.
That's funny. Hey, so we talked to Theo and Al, and we've talked to some other coaches, and we have tight relationship with the coaches, but your partner in life, spouse, right? Super important to, you said, not balance, but prioritize. I mean, that, because there's a ton of divorces in our industry, right? So, if you want to give a little feedback to everybody about your partner and just like it's so important, Jeff.
Well, here's the deal. I met her
Yes, you did.
in Dallas, Texas, May 28th, 2002, after Paul Mitchell won the title.
Oh,
I remember.
Yes.
interesting.
So you were there. Well,
I
you
was
were
there.
Yes.
Yes, I
And-
was.
And so we won the whole thing, and then it was like, hey, you got to go to the table over there to get your medal. So I started wandering. I'm by myself, and I look over to my left, and there's a group of girls, and I didn't really attach anything. I'm more like focus, go get medal. And this one
See
girl who
medal, get
stood
medal.
out just looked at me and said something, and I did my usual smooth, suave look, and I turned around. I'm like, oh, you're talking to me. And she goes, nice game. I go, thanks. And I beelined to the table.
Oh.
Smooth as could be. And by the time my brain caught up to what had just happened, I turned around and she was walking out the door, and I'm like, perfect. That's how that happened. That was the start. Now, everyone goes to the player party, and I'm in a group of guys, and at that time, I didn't drink. I mean, I didn't drink in college either. So everyone else is enjoying the moment. I was not in that regard. I was still happy. But it was a bunch of conversations going on that I really wasn't a part of. I turned around, and there she was. And for the first time in my life, I just walked right up to her and said, hi, I'm Jeff.
Oh, bold.
Good job,
for
Jeff.
Jeff Nygaard. Bold.
Well, recovered and then bold.
Yes. 20 years though. I mean, then look, like that's amazing. You've been married for 20 years and gosh, that's awesome. I do remember it. And Nationals has done that. Joy and Matt met at Nationals. And
That's right.
so Paul Mitchell just does a lot for everybody. But
Yeah.
no,
Got
I'm just kidding.
coaching.
But that's great. But I want you to continue because he asked you a couple questions about how it is, obviously where she is today with you. So I cut you off. You met her and you went up and said, "Hey, I'm Jeff," and
Well, then the next time I saw her again was when I won with Albert Hanneman in the Hermosa Beach Open. So
Oh,
that was my first two. Here's a little bit about me. And then
winner.
well, it's something like that. And then I took her down to the beach and we were just peppering because she played a little volleyball too. She
Yep.
played at D3 in Iowa. And she was peppering and it was getting kind of fun and whatnot. And I just wasn't paying attention. I just hauled off and whacked one just like a normal pepper. And as soon as I hit her, like, oh crap. And she dug me straight up. And I'm
Oh,
going,
sweet.
"Ow,
Wow.
we got a gamer."
Nice.
So along the lines, we went to dinner and she actually ate an entire full meal in front of me with no issue whatsoever. I'm like, "Oh, you're not from California, are you? She's from the Midwest," as it turns out. I'm like, now we're talking. So
Right.
probably 3 months into dating her, I was in Whole Foods and I ran into Chip McCall. Renee was there. Chip was dating or maybe engaged to Amber. And Amber looks at me just out of the corner of her eye, and because I knew her a little bit, and she looks at Renee and then looks back at me, and I just go like this. And she, like, her eyes got wide, and I'm just like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You
And
knew.
yeah, I knew. It was just that smooth and that easy. And probably 3 months before I asked her to move in with me, she was already looking for jobs in California. So clearly, I'm not the planner of the family. And so, I mean, 20 years later,
Yeah.
we're still going strong and still having a great fun time and a great relationship. It's just, for me, maybe this is a little poetic, but, adding kids and all that stuff, it was my favorite poem about that was every kid that you have or every relationship is adding a new wing to the metropolis of your heart.
Mm.
And so I don't
Nice.
see it any different. 20 years, we're still going strong. We're still having some fun. She just, she did a vacation to Hawaii to celebrate one of her birthdays, and we just got back, and I took her to Hawaii, and that's the first time I've took my wife on a work trip like that. So we
Oh.
actually had an extra day to ourselves and went snorkeling. It was great.
that's
That's
great,
awesome.
man. Good for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And you got the dub, which just made it even easier.
That would have made it far easier for her. If you lost, I would have been Captain Poopy Pants, trying my best to make Anne fun, but
I'm sure.
you went her own way, and that definitely helped her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talk about the spouses; they just have to get it, no matter if it's a female or male. If you don't get it, and so with her D3 background, she kind of knows the grind, right? So that's a great story. Great
Well,
story.
she's not afraid to tell me when I need to perk up and be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's a hot-blooded Italian, so there are some challenges that, I'll have to face some things, and I have to get better. And with that I just use it as, like I want to go back to the undercurrent of things. Like I remember playing against Zorzi. You remember that name?
Yep.
And I remember being super young. I played against the Italian national team. I got to play against Zorzi, and I literally feel like he torched me, but I felt like I was over on the block, and he just finds space under me, and then under me, then lower. I didn't block a single ball, but I got so close on all of them, and he literally got the kill, looked through the net, kind of like, "You're almost there, guy. Come on, you can do it. You're almost there." And I looked at him, and I just go, I hate you, but thank you. And I love that type of thing of playing better and learning more and just hungry for it. And so my wife is brilliant. She's gorgeous. She's extraordinarily passionate. You couldn't ask for a better partner. And she's driven and she's constantly saying, what's the new goalpost? What's the new goalpost? And sometimes that's, for me, I want to chill and all this stuff, but she constantly pushes me to be a better version of me. And so
That's
Brilliant.
amazing.
That's
Love
all
it.
you can ask
Absolutely
for.
love it.
That
there's
is
a part of me
unbelievable.
that's like, I love it. And there's a part of me that I would like to take a night off here, is
Yeah, I
relax.
mean,
relax a little
And I'm
bit.
not saying it's not like that. I'm just
I
saying.
know.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
kidding.
Theo Edwards brought that up too. Is that his wife gets in and has to go, "Hey, Theo, love what you're doing, but we got some priorities here, right?"
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's hard. I mean, like, because it's your career. It's one thing if it was like you were just out coaching for fun, like we're doing on the podcast here, but
On my anniversary.
like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll be back. No, but it's your job. And like, I grew up a coach's kid. My dad was a high school coach for 43 years. And like, he's not there and he's at practice and he's doing this. And so like, there's a lot to it, and you're so passionate, and it's a phenomenal job. I mean, coaching volleyball is awesome in a lot of different ways, and you're at a great school, and so it's real. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything. You know, I've got to meet her when you did. She's great, and she supports you, and that's great to hear. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you guys, and having someone like that who understands and supports you probably makes it easier for you to try to be better every day
Well,
in your job and in life.
It's a door that swings both ways because she has a tough job too. So I mean, every time she comes home and she's just killing it and doing better, and we celebrate all of her victories because she's climbing the ladder, so to speak. I mean,
What does she
does
do?
work. She's the she's the HSE, the Health, Safety, and Environmental Department head for an oil company.
Oh,
okay.
Wow,
Awesome.
big job.
Jeez.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
I mean, just so you have an idea, is like she had organic chemistry back in the day, and she
Oh,
didn't get the
Kim.
grade she wanted, and so she got so mad that she didn't get the grade that she wanted that she not only retook the class, but she became a tutor just to force herself to learn it.
Wow.
That's some motivation there.
Kim's rough too.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I did in school.
No. Oh. Well, Harvard, right? Harvard,
Yeah,
the
that's
West
right.
Harvard
That's
is Northridge. That's
Yes.
right. And
Took
Long
me
Beach
9
is the
years to
Princeton,
graduate, but I
right?
got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so Jeff, it's almost been an hour, and we know we can go another 10 pods with you for sure. That's just like Alan. We'd love to have you back like anytime. I'm gonna throw out a name, if you remember this name, Mike Price. Does that ring a bell?
Oh, you're talking about Mike Price, SeaWorld Mike Price?
Mike Price, well, he was my roommate in college.
No.
Yeah, he was my roommate in college, and we actually did a pod with Tom Sorensen, and Mike Price is in Abu Dhabi, and we had
Yes, he
him.
is.
We had him in on this, so we'd love to have you back. Maybe after the season, get Mike on here as well. He was really fired up to get on this thing, so he's like, anytime, Sully, yeah, no problem. So I think that'd be really cool to bring him on. But he's got some good stories when you guys were down south and in San Diego, and yeah, I think that'd be great. But yeah, I think we've taken up a ton of your time right now. We're so thankful you came on here on Set the Pipe, and like I said, we can do 10 more pods with you, and we'd love to have you back.
It's a pleasure, gentlemen. I mean, I love you guys the entire time. I love competing against you guys. I love competing with you guys, and now I get to talk about some of these stories. So thank you guys for doing what you're doing. It's been fun.
It's been awesome.
Yeah,
Really
that's-
appreciate
that's
you coming on
amazing.
here, Nikes. And like Sully said, I think we really would like to get you on. I think you guys are going to make a hell of a push for this.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think USC is going to be in the Final Four this year with Long Beach, and I'll save the other two for down the road. But I got 2 of my 4 picked in my bracket so far for men's volleyball. I think you guys are just getting better, and that's what's cool about it. So keep pushing those guys. Tell Dylan tomorrow at practice I said hello. Tell him to always remember that bike to Woody Creek. He'll know that.
The bike to Woody Creek.
The bike to Woody Creek. Yeah, it's a tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough bike ride. He got mud all in his face. Let him tell you the story. It's great, but it's called perseverance, and you push through no matter what it looks like. And so tell him I said what's up, and keep winning. Keep winning.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, man.
For
Best
us,
of luck
it's,
to you.
You know, it's about our side, and it's about making us the best version of ourselves. And we know we have a lot of potential, and we're just doing the best we can to actualize that and try to peak at the end when it matters the most. So we're on a good path, on a good journey, but at no point do we feel like we've earned anything. So we're
Yeah.
just staying humble and hungry the whole way.
Yeah,
Humble and hungry is the
of
way to
luck
go.
Yeah, best of luck the rest of the way, brother.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for the fight on right there. That was great.
Of course.